Finally, we come to Musical America's 2023 Artist of the Year. Our honoree is without doubt a very special creative force, whether performing live or engaging with thousands of aspiring musicians worldwide through her imaginative use of social media. A hypnotic stage animal and a master musician, she's one of America's greatest violinists. Please welcome the luminous Hilary Hahn. Hilary Hahn has inspired thousands with her riveting live performances, deftly programmed recordings, and revolutionary practice videos. The high wattage brilliance and crystalline projection of her sound has been her calling card all along, but her repertoire keeps expanding, and she has a healthy appetite for works by living composers. Seeking ways to extend her commissioning energy into the wider musical community, she has published the sheet music for her commissions, supplemented by her own detailed performance notes. Emerging from the crucible of the pandemic, the musician may have changed, she says, but the music making is more important than ever. Hilary's latest album is typically imaginative, featuring Dvorak's often underestimated violin concerto, alongside a seldom heard masterpiece by Ginastera and the fireworks of Sarasate's Carmen fantasy to finish. Here she is performing the finale of the Dvorak. Hilary possesses a rare talent to reach beyond the average concert goer. The same could be said for Australian internet sensation Two Set Violin, whose witty YouTube videos entertain music lovers worldwide. Having known each other for a while, Hilary relished the chance to chat about everything from the importance of using your time wisely to the challenge of Shostakovich at 7 a.m.
So good seeing you again, Hilary. You've been awarded Musical America Artist of the Year, and that's really awesome. I mean, how does it feel on your end? Like, what were you doing when you heard the news?
Well, when I was a kid, I always used to get the Musical America book. It's like the directory for everything, and I always had it in the house and the apartment, and I always saw the full cover with Artist of the Year. It was all these people whose careers were really way up there and who I admired. And I've imagined a lot of outrageous things for myself, but I somehow didn't imagine myself as Artist of the Year for Musical America. And so when I found out, I immediately had all these thoughts back to the experiences of just like practicing at home, and the directory was right there, with all that in it. So I flipped through and look at the different write-ups about people. So it feels super special. I'm really honored.
That's amazing. Do you remember where you were at the moment when you found out the news?
Ooh. Well, I actually found out before it was announced.
Oh.
I'm trying to remember. I was doing my emails. It came in my emails, and I was like, "What?" And I texted a couple people. I was like, "Shh."
Yeah, that's true.
It was this really, really strange feeling, because sometimes when you're being considered for something, and sometimes you don't. And this was really out of the blue for me. But some friends of mine have been featured with various awards from Musical America, or various titles from Musical America recently. So I also was thinking about their appointments to these wonderful bits of heritage that Musical America provides.
That's super cool.
I know exactly how we would celebrate. Was to get bubble tea straight away.
Did you celebrate with anything when you found out?
Espresso.
Yeah.
Always
Nice.
espresso.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
mean, well deserved. I mean, of course, because you're Hillary
No,
Hahn.
what's really funny actually is Jesse Montgomery, who's composer of the year. So we are both artists in residence in different ways with the Chicago Symphony right now.
Mhm.
And I opened my phone to text her because I didn't know that she was one of the people named this year as well.
Mhm.
And so I found out about her. I sent her a text, and in the text chain was a picture of us when we were in Chicago hanging out in the dressing room. And I was like, hey, we were both on Musical America this year. And she was like, maybe the photo was a good sign.
Yeah.
Wow. I was thinking about how you're saying that feeling when you used to have was it the book? The award there when you're practicing as a kid? It must feel so cool to think that now the future generation, someone else is maybe practicing to you being
Yeah,
in
the
that book.
magazine.
And then maybe they themselves in 10, 20 years might be in it too, right? I mean, how
Yeah.
does that make you feel knowing that it's almost kind of come full circle in some ways?
Yeah, the future generation, I think I'm thinking about that in every concert and every social media post, in every interaction. Stuff has changed a lot in the past few years. Interactions have changed a lot. The nature of communicating through music has changed, but also access to music has broadened with a lot of the lockdowns. People connected in ways through music they really hadn't for
Mm-hmm.
either a long time or ever, or
Mm.
they hadn't on a large scale. And also, maybe they hadn't given themselves permission to put more raw material out there to connect, which is something that I've done for a while with the 100 Days of Practice, but I saw with a lot of my colleagues was a new thing.
Mm.
So I think all of that is for the future. All of it is for the students and also for the generations that came before us, because we're carrying on the traditions at the same time that we're spinning them and passing them to the next to come along.
Yeah. How do you see yourself and your identity as an artist and a musician compared to maybe 10, 20 years ago? Has there been many big shifts or epiphanies, or are you still very much the same Hillary Hahn at the core, just kind of continuing on this trajectory? How do you see that?
Well, we've talked about this a lot
Mm-hmm.
amongst ourselves, and I definitely see, I think in the past few years, some things have solidified for me, but I think back then, when I was a teenager, I think if I'm remembering correctly, I thought I knew what it is to be a soloist and what it is to be a chamber musician and what it is to play a concerto and what it is to give a master class. And nothing that I thought I knew has proven to be personally the case for me.
I love that.
Maybe it's someone else's version,
Yeah.
but my version of being a musician is like very different. All of those things are one and the same for me. It's not separate ways of making music or separate mentalities or separate roles. I would say that just the only thing that changes between all of the aspects of my career is the amount of time that each aspect has to expand into. So being a
Oh, okay.
soloist, you have very limited time to rehearse and get to the core of the music. So that determines a fair amount of telepathy and a fair amount of sort of quick triage in rehearsal, really efficient evocative communication so people can be themselves musically but also be on the same page. And so that's kind of soloist, like inviting your colleagues to work with you. And then chamber music, you have a little more time, and so you have more discussions, and you actually kind of work through it a little bit differently, and there are fewer people involved. It's more of a personal shared journey, I suppose, to find your shared language. And then with any kind of teaching, master classes, it's really a short amount of time and someone you don't know very well. And so you're trying to help them. So I'm trying to help the student. And so getting to the core of what they need to know and what they're curious about and what they're happy about and what they're frustrated about, those things are another version of rehearsal.
It's like the underlying principles, maybe there's a lot more in common between what seems like very different things, like teaching to being a soloist. Like, oh, I'm a soloist versus I'm a chamber musician, but actually there's a lot more in common to the musical experience. Is that kind of how you feel?
One night I might play the Tchaikovsky concerto really into all the details and into all the feelings and really take a lot of time. But that might take all of the emotional energy that I had. But then the next day there's a matinee. So what do I do when the tank hasn't refilled yet? But there's a new kind of both reluctance and lightness in that feeling. So how do I play that? And that's what the concert becomes about. How can I be true to the moment, and also the fact that it's 2 p.m. and not 8 p.m. It's still sunny out. It feels different for the audience too. So what feels right for everyone in this moment? What wants to happen? What doesn't want to happen? And just lean into what wants to happen.
Yeah, I need to take notes, right?
Yeah. That's actually, you touched on something that's super interesting too, because you said it's not just about being authentic to the interpretation of how you feel on the day. Because, you know, I think, yeah, it's like you said, there's a practice room, but at the end of the day, if you're not putting your present experience into it, it might seem manufactured and artificial. But then you also mentioned, go further and say you're feeling what feels appropriate for the audience, which is very fascinating. Like, if it's a matinee 2 p.m., how does the audience feel? Does that affect how you perform a piece?
It's not a conscious thing, but I think I think I just trust my instinct that if I feel like it needs to flow, it's fine. It can just flow. Like, there's no rule that it has to be, every note has to be heavy, every detail has to be in there. Like, to give myself permission to just kind of let it flow. And there's a reason it wants to do that. So I may not understand it at the moment, but it may be that just like it doesn't feel right to do that at 2 p.m. somehow. It's like watching I don't know, a thriller with breakfast. Like, maybe it just doesn't.
Shostakovich's Violin Concerto at 7 a.m.
You munch on cereals.
I mean, sometimes it's kind of like that. Like, you're jet lagged and it feels like 7 a.m. and you're playing Shostakovich. What do you do with that? You can't make yourself do something that doesn't want to happen, but there's something else beautiful that's happening, and you've never thought of the piece that way, and you have this opportunity to get this new insight and new framing on the piece. And I think the key is just to not like go outside of yourself and keep trying to do something that doesn't want to happen, because then you're already outside of yourself. The moment is flying by and you're kind of going to be running to catch up. So just trying to read the moment also takes a lot of knowledge, a lot of self-knowledge, a lot of trial and error, and a lot of experiences. But I think ultimately every artist knows deep down what would flow the best for them in that moment, and it's just a matter of learning how to access that and how to trust it